we're back.
Welcome back to WQMC Radio. My name is Gary Younger.
My name is Soep.
This is the fifth quarter, 718-997-3987, 718-997-3987. If you'd like to call in, check out the website, thefifthquarter.org, facebook.com/thefifthquarter. You guys know the deal already. All right, let's get into some NHL talk, and we've got two guests in the building right now. One's actually on the phone, so I don't know why I said in the building. Our resident beat reporter for thefifthquarter.org, Jeremy Tuch, and president of the radio station, Ben Burwood. How you doing, guys?
I'm doing good, man. You?
Tuch, how you doing? Good to hear. Let's start this one off with typically we start with the Rangers. Let's start with the Islanders here. Completely free-falling right now. 2-8 in their last 10. They've lost 3 in a row. What do you guys attribute this to? Is there anything in particular, or is it just they're just not a good team anymore?
I think it's a lack of chemistry. After the Danik trade, which hasn't panned out yet, they got rid of a key part of their chemistry in Matt Molson, and he worked wonders with Tavares. I think that's something that really sets them back to. Also, the injury of Evgeny Nabokov can't help.
Certainly, Evgeny Nabokov is the big loss there. I mean, when you lose your starting goaltender, and then you're forced to rely on two people like Poulin and Nilsson, who are very young, still very new to the league. When you're relying on them to win your games night in, night out, no matter how bad the Metro is, you're going to be in trouble.
Absolutely. And, we talk about the Vanek-Molson trade, and there's a lot of critics of it. A lot of people specifically after the draft picks were given up. Do you think if this team continues the free fall that they're going on, that Snow might be out of a job at the end of the year?
Well, Vanek's a good enough player that eventually he'll adapt to the system, but he's got to be playing. He's been hurt also. So it will take a lot of time if they can get around to it. It's going to be tough for them because, again, Molson's been with them for so long and he's played every game. So it's tough to recreate that chemistry.
It is tough to recreate that because Molson has that very strong connection with Tavares where they would work out together. They would spend their summers together. These are two guys who were really well acclimated to playing together. And to include him in the trade, I still don't understand it. I understand what the goal is behind the trade. You're looking at a very weak division, a division that's struggling a lot, and you think this could be our year to make some noise, do some damage. And it just hasn't panned out because, as you listed, I mean, Vanek's been injured, so they can't develop new chemistry. Nabokov's been injured. It's just, I don't think the trade's going to work out overall because there's no chance of really keeping Vanek. Unless whatever they gave Wisnowski and Nabokov to make sure they came back for another year takes hold with him. I don't know what they're doing out there in Nassau. Are they drugging them? Who knows?
Let's move across town to the Rangers, who, like the Islanders, they're not struggling as bad, but they've definitely got their pronounced issues. They've only scored 48 goals, second fewest in the entire NHL. Do you see a way to fix this issue, and can they fix it in a way to help them get to the playoffs?
I mean, Nash just got back from injury. I think that's going to definitely help their offense eventually. I mean, coming back from a concussion is not an easy thing to do, especially playing at a rate where Nash is expected to play. So it's definitely possible by just standing put, but also, calling up a couple of pieces from the minors can also help them too.
For me, I think the issue is still they're adapting to Vigneault's system, which is a lot less defensively inclined than Tortorella's. So I think for them, it's just they're going to get better as the season goes along, because there's no way they are as bad as the team we saw in October. They just have too many pieces, too much talent. They will be better, and they likely will be picking up at least one of the top 2 or 3 slots within the Metro Division, for sure.
And now, they lost last night 5-0. Lundqvist has looked like a shell of his former self, but this rookie that they've got right now has looked fantastic. Talk a little about him.
Well, you can't blame Lundqvist for a lot of these losses because, as Avi said, it's a new system and they're looking to spark more offense while sacrificing a little defensively, and that's not how the Rangers are built. You can't blame it all on the goalie, but he has been playing amazing. Ken Talbot has been impressive. He's been strong in net, and I can't say much more because his play speaks for itself.
It is a case where Talbot just kind of came out of nowhere. He was on no one's radar that I knew of. I mean, maybe there's some psychic off somewhere who actually saw Talbot coming out and just playing as well as he has, but it certainly wasn't on anyone's record that I knew. So I don't think Lundqvist is an issue. I mean, if you want an example, just look across the river. Look at New Jersey, where Corey Schneider, he plays really well, but his team isn't supporting him. And I think this is just a case where Lundqvist isn't getting the support he needs right now. But it will come in time. I still have the Rangers as being a playoff team because, like I said, they're too damn good not to be.
And it's funny you mentioned Schneider, as I'm going to go across states right now. The Devils, they've had a pretty big issue in one specific case, which is overtime. 0-4 in shootouts. They've lost 2 in a row. Berdorn made a very nice save a couple days ago against the Ducks. But do you see they've been pretty just even win-loss all year. Do you see this getting fixed?
I think it's something good. They've been playing well lately. I know they lost the other night to Winnipeg. They came right off the California road trip. And also in California, they played pretty good. They won 2 overtime games. Like you said, they've had struggles, so this is a welcome sight. And their offense has been clicking for a little bit. It's tough to play against all 3 of those teams in 3 games in a row because they're very difficult teams to play against. The fact that they came out with 2 wins shows that if they have the guts, the veteran know-how to be able to get things done, even if their offense isn't as strong as it's been.
Like you said, California is just an absolutely stacked state in terms of hockey teams right now. San Jose has just been playing amazing. LA, they're 2 years removed from a Stanley Cup. Anaheim's very dangerous, despite the fact that advanced statistics can't explain why they're doing so well. But that said, I still see New Jersey as a bubble team. They started the year as a bubble team. They're going to finish the year as a bubble team. They'll be competing for a wild card spot, but honestly, I don't know if they have it in them to get done because they're just so middle of the road. Outside of some very strong goaltending, their defense is very young. The players that they have, they're good, or just very middling. Their offense is very old and very middling. I just don't know if they're going to ever be anything this year more than just a bubble team.
Well, if you look at the other division, they've had a bunch of struggling teams. Ottawa's coming back down to earth. Who knows where Tampa's going to end up at when they get Stamkos back. I think that they could definitely get a wild card. It's not out of their reach.
No, of course not.
It's just that they got to pick it up offensively a little bit. I mean, I know their defense is young, and I know their offense is old, but they have the mix of veteran know-how and young talent to be able to get things done.
Moving on to a national scale right now. You look one team right now who's absolutely on fire, and that's St. Louis. 17 points in their last 10 games, won 4 in a row. Do you guys attribute this to anything in particular, or is it just they had the talent this whole time?
They do have the talent, but also their system is very, very tight defensively. Ken Hitchcock is known as the defense-first coach, and his team is very good, very stout defensively, and they also have a bunch of young forwards that can get things done. David Backes, TJ Oshie, Jaden Schwartz, Alex Steen is second in the league in goals. All of them are very capable forwards who can play both offense and defense. I think that fixed their system, and that's why they haven't been losing too many games.
I gotta agree. I mean, St. Louis is just a very good systems team at this time. And like you said, Ken Hitchcock is one of the best developers of a system, and it works. And as long as the team is willing to buy into a system, it's going to keep working. But the one thing you can't forget is just how absolutely stacked their defense core is when you look at it. I mean, you have someone in Pietrangelo, who should have been a Norris nominee at least for the past few years, and it's just ridiculous. And St. Louis has been a team on the rise for the past few years, and I think this is going to be the year that they really do some damage.
You look now going to the Atlantic Division. Tampa's staying alive right now after the Stamkos injury. Do you think they're going to eventually fall off, or can they actually still make the playoffs? They won 5-0 last night against the Rangers. Can they keep going even despite missing Stamkos?
I mean, it's just going to be a gut check. They have to be resourceful without their top scorer. They've shown that they can do that. They still have a lot of offensive weapons in Marty St. Louis, Victor Hedman from the back end, Teddy Purcell, guys like that who can definitely get things done. And Ben Bishop has been playing very well. They definitely have it in them, but I mean, it's going to hang around that, hey, we don't have our top scorer, and it might hurt. But once he gets back, I think they'll get right back in the swing of things. He's been rehabbing already, so I think they'll be just fine.
I mean, it's always an issue when you lose your top player, and especially when your top player is one of the probably top 5 talents within the NHL. But I don't know. Tampa Bay has been surprising me lately. I mean, this past year, it's just really good. As a proud owner of Ben Bishop in a fantasy pool, I'm very happy with how they've been doing. So, I don't. As to whether they can hold on, I think they can. I mean, the Eastern competition this year has just not been there. There's been a lot of teams that were expected to make that next step, and they haven't.
Moving on to the Western Conference, into the Pacific, one of the teams that's been a pleasant surprise, I would say, this year, considering where they were last year, after the fantastic 2012 year, has been the Phoenix Coyotes. 2012, they had a fantastic year. Mike Smith came out of nowhere, had a fantastic year in goal. Last year, team struggled a little bit. This year, he's playing better, offense is playing better, defense as well. Do you see them continuing their success and possibly making another push?
You can actually attribute this to ownership because last year they were under the NHL control, and this year they actually have owners who care and are willing to put down money to get this team better. And also, they've made a couple of additions, and even without those additions, they still have a great team. Shane Doan, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, guys like that who can definitely carry a team on their own. In front of a very capable goalie in Mike Smith, who's even scored a goal this year. So they have the talent, they have now ownership. I think it's going to be a successful formula for this season.
I think what we're seeing here is just a team getting back to playing Dave Tippett hockey. Dave Tippett is just a phenomenal, fantastic coach, a phenomenal coach, if I'm going to make up words here. And it's just, you saw it all throughout. He made Brizgalov a star. He's making Mike Smith a star. I think Mike Smith is a good goalie, but playing in a Dave Tippett system, and players who are buying into a Dave Tippett system, he is a phenomenal goalie. And I think that's at next level. I think that's what is making Phoenix really turn its wheels. It's like Nashville with Barry Trotz. When you have a good coach like that, a great coach like that, someone who's going to make your players give it their all every night, and have a system that makes you win every night, I think it's a good recipe.
You look at the Pacific Division right now, Anaheim, San Jose, the Kings, the Coyotes. You can never discount the Canucks. Who do you think ends up walking out with this division when all's said and done?
It's going to be really tough to tell. The San Jose Sharks, I think, have the strongest offense and a very decent goalie in Antti Niemi. I wouldn't say he's amazing, but he's able to stand on his head a couple of times a week in order to get his team some wins. That being said, I think it will be the Ducks because they have the overall talent. They have 3 very capable goalies in Hiller, Anderson, and Victor Font. So if I had to make a prediction right now, it would be the Ducks.
I'd actually second that, and I feel a bit bad because you're taking a lot of my arguments. But I see Anaheim as the quintessential regular season team where they just seem to get it done night in and night out. I don't know if that's going to translate to postseason success because, as we've seen recently, Anaheim hasn't been able to really seal the deal there. But I think in the regular season, they're probably going to take it.
Lastly, you look at the Atlantic. We were talking about Tampa earlier, but Boston is on fire right now. 8-1-1 in their last 10, 2 in a row. Is this team? First of all, what have you guys each liked out of this team? You know, they had some, you thought maybe after the demoralizing loss last year in the finals that maybe something would happen, but they've been picking right back up. Is there anything in particular you like from these teams, and do you think this will continue?
Well, you can't win if you can't score, and the Bruins have definitely been holding teams defensively. They have an amazing defensive line in front of goalie Tuch, who's been playing well in his own right. You got Zdeno Chara, you got Dougie Hamilton, you got Dennis Steinberg, Corey Krug. All those guys are playing very well, as well as their defensively minded forwards, and like Milan Lucic, David Krejci, 2-way forwards that will get things done. So I attribute it to their stout defensive play. And again, you can't score a game. In a game, you can't win that game.
Boston was the second best team last year. It shouldn't be a surprise that they're going to continue to be a top team in this league. I mean, the people they have just stepping up, like Torrey Krug, you mentioned, he's now playing himself into contention for the U.S. team for the Olympics. And as a 20-something guy just out of college, that's ridiculous. They just have this knack for just plucking players out of the system, and suddenly they just mesh completely. they are just part of the unit, and they just play Boston Bruins hockey.
One last thing. This is an off the ice matter at this point. Everyone's making big deals about the NFL concussions and all that. There was a class action lawsuit filed by former players in the NHL last year against the NHL that they've been suffering from that they've been suffering from post issues from concussions they gained from playing hockey. Do you think this is a real issue in the NHL, and do you think that there's something that the NHL should be doing to try to make this game safer?
They have been doing a lot. Brendan Shanahan's Department of Player Safety has been really cracking down on hits to the head. I think I wrote an article about this last month, where they've been cracking down on a lot of hits to the head, that kind of stuff that has been causing concussions. And you see less and less of those hits every year. Crosby, like a couple of years ago, got those 2 concussions that kept him out the whole season. And years earlier, you have even more of those. Nowadays, you don't see that too much. You don't see those nasty open ice hits that have been destroying players' careers because they can't get back on the ice after those concussions. So the fact that you're seeing less and less of them means that the player safety department has been doing their job.
I mean, you can only hope that they're doing their job. It's really hard because hockey is such a fast game, and there's always moving parts that you can't take into account for. I mean, we see things that could be considered dangerous hits like every night. And honestly, as a kid growing up, they were my favorite parts. I loved fucking Scott Stevens growing up because he would just demolish people. But you realize now, looking back, like these are very dangerous hits. And I don't know if you can ever really get it away from the game because the game is just getting faster and faster all the time. That said, the hope is that maybe we can dissuade the element within a player's head to say, I don't need to make this hit. It would be good for me to make this hit. Perhaps I'd be well liked for making this hit, but this hit might hurt someone else. And maybe that's the goal, just to get in their heads and introduce that angel on their shoulder as opposed to the devil.
Mm-hmm. Guys, thanks for coming on. Ben, hope to have you back real soon.
Sure.
Tuch, of course, we'll have you in your regular spot hopefully next week. Mondays at 2:25, you can catch Jeremy. Check out the website. We posted an article yesterday. Just wrap up of the NHL. See you next week, 2:25, hopefully. Happy Thanksgiving, happy Hanukkah. Have a good one.
Take care. Take care.
Yeah, bye-bye. And that's going to do it for us for this edition of the 5th quarter. Again, I'll be back Monday at 1 to 3, brand new set of topics, Jets, Giants, Thanksgiving football, NHL, MLB, and everything else you can think of.
I'll be back Tuesday, 12:15. We'll be discussing the same stuff.
And we'll also be and hopefully on Tuesday we'll be announcing the new schedule for next semester. I'll hopefully have that down. We will be hopefully expanding. We'll talk about that next Tuesday. Happy Hanukkah, guys. Happy Thanksgiving, and have a good one.